Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. Many of us grew up watching Power Rangers during our childhood and early teens. The storylines with colour-themed rangers, various subsets of powers and conniving villains dedicated to destroying Earth enamored us during those days. And although the action sequences with the Megazords and the unique weapons were cool, the best things about these rangers was how thematically different their origins and powers were, depending on the theme of the show. These powers could be mystical, futuristic, magical, animalistic, and they could even be derived from ninjas and dinosaurs. Like many things, however, the West had taken great inspiration from Japan in their conception of the Power Rangers, since the land of the rising sun had pioneered such live-action shows focusing on humans turned heroes in the face of intergalactic threats. Such shows were known as Tokusatsu in Japan, and over several years, they've birthed iconic franchises such as the Ultraman franchise and the Super Sentai franchise. In today's video, we'll talk about 44 such tokusatsu and live-action shows from mostly Japan, sprinkled with the occasional Western entries. Before getting into the content, we'd like to make a very small request to our viewers. Please subscribe to our channel, like and comment on our videos, and press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content. We'd be grateful to you, and we hope to bring you the best nerdy content. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Kamen Rider Black, 1987. The Kamen Rider franchise kicked off in 1971, introducing us to a motorcycling cyborg who turned on its creators and went on to battle a monster roster. However, the early 70s were not the best era for tokusatsu, which led to Kamen Rider drowning in the shadow of its 16-year later darker and more thematically mature successor, the Kamen Rider Black. Also known as the Masked Rider Black, the show became one of the most iconic tokusatsu from the Kamen Rider franchise, gaining high acclaim in Japan from fans and critics alike. The plot follows the experiences of a boy named Kotaro Minami, who, alongside his adopted brother, had gotten kidnapped by an evil organization called Gorgom. The brothers are then turned into cyborgs, with Gorgom hoping to turn at least one of them into their ultimate creation, or the Century King. Kotaro later escapes and finds the Kamen Rider Black RX, who gives Kotaro the power to turn into Kamen Rider Black. After receiving his training, Kotaro begins to shoulder the responsibility of protecting humanity from Gorgom and rescuing his brother, Nobuhiko. Aside from having an exciting premise and high adrenaline battles, Kamen Rider Black also brings with Kotaro's personal conflicts that arise from his inner war between his human emotions and his duties as a hero. Ultraman, 1996. The Ultraman franchise by Subaraya Productions sowed its seeds in 1966 with the release of Ultra Q. The show that revolved around human characters and their investigations of mysterious phenomena eventually became one of the pioneers of the science fiction and horror subgenre. Its success led to the conception of the iconic Ultraman Taro, which hit the screens in 1996 and took Japan by storm. The story follows the journey of a young man named Kotaro Higashi, who comes across an Ultraman statue in the forest. Impressed by the purity of his heart and his courage, he's soon granted superpowers by the mother of Ultra. Naturally, he becomes the 6th Ultraman in the 6th entry of the franchise and acquires the name Ultraman Taro. Similar to his predecessors and successors, Ultraman Taro uses his superpowers to defend Earth from monsters and aliens. He also gains the ability to transform into a gigantic-sized being and goes on to join a group of Ultraman warriors, or the Ultra Brothers, to protect the world. Ultraman Taro is also known as the hero from the Land of Light and Ultraman Taro, since he's the direct descendant of Ultraman King. His powers also allow him to undergo several transformations, making Ultraman Taro a versatile combatant. However, what makes Ultraman Taro so special is the emotional depth of his character, as the audience finds relatability in the superheroic protagonist due to his personal growth. Mega Beast Investigator Jaspion, 1985. Toei Company's Mega Beast Investigator Jaspion, or simply Jaspion, is one of the most popular entries from the Metal Hero series. The protagonist is a young orphan boy named Deleon, who's revealed to have an interesting ancestry. The descendant of the ancient galactic warrior Jaspion, Deleon goes on to inherit the superpower mystical weapon known as the Jaspion's Cross. He also finds a companion in his giant robotic dog named Anrican, as the two travel across the galaxy to fight against evil forces, monsters, and alien civilizations. In this adventure, Deleon faces great opposition from the tyrannical space pirate Satan Gorth. Yet he powers through the challenges, travels to different planets, and continues to protect the universe. Deleon relies on his bravery, his sense of justice, and the power of friendship to overcome his hurdles, which helps the show gain great popularity with the audience. The show also revels in its dynamic action sequences that have helped Mega Beast Investigator Jaspion gain a cult-like following. Jetman, 1989. An iconic addition to the Super Sentai franchise and its 15th installment, Shojin Sentai Jetman introduces us to a superhero team clad in colored costumes. These 5 individuals were chosen by an interdimensional organization known as the Sky Force and turned into the Jetman team. Each of the members were equipped with special technology which amped their strengths with enhanced weapons and abilities, turning them into bird-themed superheroes. Together, they fought against the evil organization known as Viram, just like any other villainous association, sought after the destruction of humanity and the conquest of Earth. The 5 members, namely Red Hawk, Yellow Owl, Black Condor, White Swan, and Blue Swallow, also had access to mechas known as jet machines. They would often combine their machines to form a giant robot known as the Jet Icarus. These mechs came in handy whenever Viram sent giant monsters their way. However, there's a lot more to these characters than their strengths and battles. It's their personal struggles, interpersonal relationships, and the challenges they face emotionally due to their superhero lives that add the humanizing touch to these otherwise fantasy-based individuals. The character-driven storytelling combines itself with the dynamic battle sequences and plot twists to make Jetman a tokusatsu capable of gaining a loyal fan following. Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, 1994. Unlike the previous entries on the list, Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad is an American live-action series. However, it was inspired by the Japanese tokusatsu Denko Chujin Gridman and was subsequently produced by both Saban Entertainment and Tsuburaya Productions. The story revolves around Sam Collins and his high school friend circle. Alongside Sydney, Tanker, and Amp, Sam Collins gets involved in a virtual reality computer program known as Cyberspace. The program has been created by their genius classmate Malcolm Frank, and it hosts an evil AI called Kilokan. Eventually, the AI takes control of the space and turns it against Malcolm. It then commences with its plan of taking over the real world with its computer viruses, leading Sam and his friends to transform into powerful digital avatars known as servos. These servos would go on to enter the cyberspace in their superhero forms to fight off Killer Khan and his army of virus monsters. But because they're teenagers, they'd go on to struggle with balancing their lives as the saviors of the digital world while being school students. The show was iconic for its time as it blurred the lines between computer technology and superhero battle action. This futuristic theme was unique for the kids of the time who were growing up in the era of an emerging digital world. Car Ranger, 1996. Gekisu Sentai Car Ranger, also known as Car Ranger, is the 20th installment of the Super Sentai franchise and, like most of the other entries on this list, features superhero teams in colorful costumes. The 5 main characters start off as ordinary employees in a car repair garage known as the Pegasus Garage. However, an alien named Signalman soon arrives on the planet, bringing to them the news of doom. According to the unfortunate news, Earth seems to be awaiting an invasion by an intergalactic biker gang known as the Baozok. To defend the world from the threat, the employees are chosen to become the heroes, or the Car Rangers, which literally means car rangers. The 5 racers go on to receive devices called the Axel Changers that allow them to gain superhuman powers following their transformation. They acquire access to their powerful Mecha Ranger vehicles, which they can combine to form a giant mech called the RV Robo. The racers also find their leader in the eccentric Exhaust, which adds special layers of comedy to the show. This parody-like approach also sets Car Ranger apart from its more serious peers. Mirror Man, 1971. Another one of Tsuburaya Productions' releases, Mirror Man aired from 1971 to 1972 and gained acclaim for its unique visual style. The story follows the journey of Kiyotaro Kagami, who discovers that his father is an alien from a planet known as Rainbow Star. This father of his had fallen in love with Kiyotaro's human mother on Earth. Due to his extraterrestrial ancestry, Kiyotaro has the power to transform into the superhero known as Mirror Man. The protagonist uses his special device, or the Silver Cross, to kickstart the transformation the moment danger arises. It helps him merge with his alien DNA and imbues him with enhanced strength, agility, and the ability to create illusions. As usual, Earth faces threats from alien forces who wish to conquer the blue planet. However, Mirror Man stands in their way as he fights off the monstrous creatures and rains on the parades of his enemies. Meanwhile, Kiyotaro finds his greatest enemy in his dual identity, which forces him to struggle between his human and his alien side. Mirror Man combines action with mystery, psychological themes, suspense, and horror within a sci-fi story to create a unique atmosphere that makes the story appealing to the masses. Gridman, 1993. Responsible for inspiring superhuman samurai cyber squad, Gridman, or Denko Chojin Gridman, endured its run from 1993 to 1994 as it paid homage to the mecha and kaiju genres of its past 2 decades. With Yuta Hibiki as the protagonist, Gridman leads its lead to a discovery where he learns that he can merge with a computer program known as Gridman. This Gridman is also a superhero in this hyper world. As he uses the computer terminal in Yuta's room, the superhero gains the ability to enter the real world. When Yuta merges with Gridman, he gains the ability to fight against the monstrous beings who threaten his town. He finds his toughest enemy in the computer virus Khan Digifer, as the virus intends to seep into the real world and throw it into a whirlwind of chaos. Meanwhile, the battles take place in the virtual world where Gridman fights Digifer's kaiju. He uses his weapons in myriad of forms to defeat them, and in the process, takes inspiration from other old-school kaiju and mechas in media. Dairanger, 1993. The 1993 to 1994 tokusatsu, known as Gosei Sentai Dairanger, or simply Dairanger, acquires the spot for the 17th installment in the Super Sentai franchise. The story revolves around the stereotypical 5-member squad who start off as ordinary human beings. One day, the Sky God chooses them to become the Dairangers in the face of a threat posed on Earth by the Gorma tribe. As they gain mystical abilities and turn into powerful warriors, the Dairangers must now go against the Gorma, led by 3 evil generals. In their multicolored suits, the team comprises the Ryu Ranger, the Shishi Ranger, Kirin Ranger, Tenma Ranger, and Huwu Ranger. Not only do they have their unique fighting skills, but they also pilot mythological beasts into battle. These beasts can also be combined to form the mighty robot called Dairen-O, which in turn can combine with more mecha to create something even more fantastic. The story of Dairanger revels in its dynamic storytelling, intense sequences of martial arts, incorporation of Chinese folklore and mythology, and the struggle of good versus evil. Garo, 2005. The 2005 tokusatsu created by Kita Amamiya, known as Garo, is darker and more mature than most of the other entries on its list due to its incorporation of horror alongside fantasy and action. The story centers itself around individuals known as the Makai Knights, who fight off supernatural creatures called horrors and protect humanity. These warriors also wield special weapons and armor that enhance their battle prowess. Meanwhile, the protagonist Garo acquired the golden armor with the powerful sword known as the Garoken. Alongside the Makai Knights, Garo fights the horrors while dealing with his inner demons. He gets thrown into a battle with his own sanity as he has to resist succumbing to the darkness while having the responsibility of protecting the world on his shoulders. Himitsu Sentai Goranger, 1975. The show aired during the mid-1970s and was the first show from the Super Sentai franchise. The 5-member squad of the show were known as the Gorangers, who were a secret task force that must fight off the Black Cross Army. They used their enhanced abilities and weapons to go against its masked leader, known as the Black Cross Führer. This evil organization intends to terrorize Earth and oppress it following its conquest. But of course, the Gorangers fight off the villains in every episode. They also get to operate from a cool flying fortress called the Varibloon. Being the first of its low, Himitsu Sentai Goranger is responsible for setting up the tropes that most of the tokusatsu in the list seem to follow, such as the ones with color-coded rangers, combination of vehicles to form a large mech, and battles against giant robots. Due to being one of the pioneers, the show had become a cultural phenomenon in Japan. Denji Sentai Mega Ranger, 1997. Once again, an installment from the Super Sentai franchise, and the 21st one at that, Denji Sentai Mega Ranger witnesses 5 high school students get picked by the International Network of Excel Science and Technology, also known as the INET. They are chosen to become Mega Rangers when an evil computer virus named Nezu Rajaya invades the digital world and threatens Earth. Like their peers, each member has special abilities. They also have cool transformation devices called the Digitizers and weapons known as Kitizers. Meanwhile, their combined mecha is known as the Galaxy Mega. Much like the other tokusatsu series, Denji Sentai Mega Ranger places great importance of themes such as dual lives, the power of friendship, and a battle between good and evil. Future Squadron Time Ranger, 2000, the 24th installment from the Super Sentai series, aka the Mirai Sentai Time Ranger, or the Future Squadron Time Ranger, introduces us to futuristic police officers. These officers, or Time Rangers, belong to the year 3000 and travel to the past, or rather the present, with respect to the events of the show to prevent the criminal organization of the Londers family from destroying the future by altering history. The 5 members of the Time Rangers must leave no stones unturned in capturing the escaped Londers prisoners in their mission of protection time from any alteration. The show finds its USP in introducing time travel and the consequences of altering time events into the story. This creates a new beast of problems for the Time Rangers, who have problems that are far more complicated than fighting giant robots as they try to protect 2 different eras at the same time. But that doesn't mean they don't have giant mechs, because they have their Time Robo, which does an amazing job at defeating the giant monsters sent by the Londers family. Space Sheriff Gavan, 1982, also known as Uchi Kaiji Gaiaban. The show kicks off the Metal Hero series from 1982 to 1983 and introduces us to its sci-fi world that features high-tech police officers. The story finds its protagonist in a young man named Geki Jumonji. He gets chosen to become the Space Sheriff Gavan by the Galactic Union Police. In his new role, he's a space law enforcement that has to protect Earth from alien threats and maintain intergalactic peace. He also finds a mighty obstacle created by the criminal organization known as Maku Space, which Gavan has to fight using his powerful weapons and armor. However, defeating the ruthless and tyrannical villain Don Horror is not the easiest thing in the book. The show contributed a lot to the superhero genre with its iconic suits and cool energy-emitting sword known as the Laser Blade, which eventually led to several sequels and spin-offs. Kamen Rider Ryuki, 2002. The 2002 tokusatsu known as the Kamen Rider Ryuki is the Kamen Rider franchise's 12th installment and involves masked superheroes with the ability to partake in high-tech transformations. The story revolves around the deadly game of Rider Battle, where 13 individuals get chosen to become Kamen Riders. They gain access to the Advent Decks, which are special devices that allow them to transform into warriors and summon powerful creatures known as the Contract Monsters. However, the riders are also pitted against one another as they battle for a single wish. The last one standing will gain the fortune of having their wish granted, whereas the others will face the consequences of their loss. In this ruthless game, the members eventually form alliances and rivalries, while the story eventually reveals the true nature of the game. Protagonist Shinji Kido, in particular, focuses on unearthing the game's true nature while hoping to save the others from their deaths. Ultraman Tiga, 1996. The 1996 tokusatsu Ultraman Tiga is the 11th installment from the long-running Ultra series franchise. In the world of Ultraman Tiga, humanity was once threatened by monsters known as the Giant of Light. However, they met their demise several years ago. Cut to the present, a private security organization established the Global Unlimited Task Squad, or the GUTS, to battle alien and paranormal activities. They go on to recruit former athlete Daigo Madoka into becoming the ancient warrior known as Ultraman Tiga. With his new powers, Daigo can harness the powers of this warrior and protect the planet. While having enhanced strength and agility, Daigo also acquired the ability to emit energy beams from his hands. He combines these features to battle against giant monsters or Golza. With time, Tiga gains more and more abilities, powers, and forms. However, Daigo continues to struggle with his imbalanced life of being a GUTS member and the Guardian of Earth. He also begins to uncover past secrets as ancient evils that had been vanquished previously begin to return to the surface. Kaizoku Sentai Go Keija, 2011. The 35th installment of the Super Sentai franchise, Kaizoku Sentai Go Keija revolves around 5 young pirates who travel across space in their spaceship, known as the Gokei Galleon. They're on the lookout for the greatest treasure in the universe, which allegedly grants any wish that the discoverer wants to be fulfilled. These Gokeiges can utilize the powers and abilities of the 34 Super Sentai teams that preceded them across all the previous installments. They use the special Ranger keys of the Gokeiges to assume any form that's previously been held by their predecessors. As a result, they also gain access to that particular warrior's costume, fighting styles, and weapons. Meanwhile, they find their enemy in the intergalactic empire known as the Zangiak. The series celebrates past heroes and focuses on paying homage to the other Super Sentai shows that came before it, as it adds the emotional elements of nostalgia to enhance the flavors of the show. Juko B Fighter, 1995. The 1995 to 1996 runner Juko B Fighter is the 8th installment from the Metal Hero series and is renowned for its high-tech warriors. The story follows 3 young individuals, namely Takaharu Igasaki, Rei Hayama, and Daisaku Katagiri. They get chosen by the Earth Academia organization and are granted the powers of insect-based warriors. Now known as the Bee Fighters, the new heroes get tasked with protecting Earth from the evil organization known as the Jamal Empire. The Bee Fighters use their insect-themed armor to transform into their powerful, superheroic forms. They can also harness the powers of the specific insect they're association with, which in their cases are the beetle, the bee, and the mantis. Of course, they have to fight monsters sent by the Jamal Empire and their giant mecha in this journey. As the story progresses, the Bee Fighters begin to discover the true origins of their insect-like powers and find out the hidden truth behind the conflicts between the Jamal Empire and Earth. Number 20. Kamen Rider W, 2009. Kamen Rider W is the 11th installment from the Kamen Rider franchise. It aired from 2009 to 2010, during the Heisei era. The noir-inspired story is set in the fictional city of Futo, which is laden with crimes and mysteries. This less-than-ideal city is divided into 2 sectors, with one sector being home to the more elite Tsubasa era, while the other sector is the run-down and less fortunate Manton area. The show finds its main character in Shotaro Hidaro, who is a detective with a strong sense of justice. injustice. It finds its other protagonist, Philip, who seems to have amnesia with no memory of his past. Together, the protagonists join forces and form the Narumi Detective Agency. However, they set themselves apart from their competition with their ability to combine their power using special USB-like devices called Gaia memories. This allows them to combine their powers and become Kamen Rider W. This 2-in-1 superhero has two forms, namely the Cyclone Joker and Heat Metal. While Shotaro controls the Cyclone, or the left side of the body, Philip controls the right, or the Joker side. They use different Gaia memories and switch between several forms, with each form possessing different abilities and fighting styles. Throughout the series, Kamen Rider W goes against individuals who have superhuman abilities because of their usage of corrupted Gaia memories. These beings, known as dopants, begin to have their crimes investigated by the unusual detective duo, who eventually unearth a greater conspiracy. Throughout the show, the characters are also forced to battle their own pasts. Tokusatsu Sentai Deca Ranger, 2004. This series is the 28th installment from the Super Sentai franchise and revolves around an intergalactic police force known as the Special Police Deca Ranger. This force maintains law and order across the universe and protects it from threats posed by criminal organizations. The police squad consists of 5 color-coded superheroes alongside the Deca Master, or the Tetsu Doggy Jumonji. These Deca Rangers utilize advanced technology and weapons to fight the dangerous criminals and, like the heroes in the list, transform into their warrior forms using special devices. In their case, it's the SP license that allows them to turn into the superhuman Deca Rangers. Throughout the show, we get to witness intense action sequences where the Deca Rangers battle criminals with their powers and weapons. They also fight off giant monsters in their giant Deca Ranger robos while balancing their personal lives with their superheroic feats. The heroes are also shown to be dedicated to upholding the law as they have to make difficult choices to maintain peace and order. Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger, 1994. Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger is the 18th installment from the Super Sentai franchise and follows a 5-member team where every individual descends from legendary ninja clans. The individuals eventually get chosen to become the new Kaku Rangers as Earth faces a great threat imposed by the yokai. This adversary group is the den of supernatural beings hailing from Japanese folklore where they'd been sealed for centuries. But with them being back, they must be eradicated for the protection of humanity. With the Kaku Rangers being formed, each Ninja Ranger shows off their possession of unique skills and abilities as they fight the unleashed yokai that are now wreaking havoc across the modern world. The Rangers also use gigantic mecha known as the Ninja Gatai in battles against giant monsters. The show finds its USP in combining action with traditional and mythological elements from Japanese folklore. The show also boasts a comic relief character, with Sandayu Momochi offering comic elements in the show. This helps tone down the seriousness of the show and gives the audience the occasional breathing room. The show has also attained great acclaim due to its distinct ninja aesthetic. Kamen Rider V3, 1973. This show is the second installment in the Kamen Rider franchise and has aired from 1973 to 1974. It follows the original Kamen Rider series and picks up after Takeshi Hongo's story. Hongo gets joined by Shiro Kazami, but the former eventually gets killed by the evil organization Destron. This leads to Kazami becoming the new Kamen Rider V3, as he seeks revenge against Destron while wishing to protect humanity at the same time. Kamen Rider V3 gets into battles against Destron and his secret society of terrorists and cyborgs. These villains are determined in their conquest of the world, but find their obstacle in the hands of Kamen Rider's motorcycle, known as the Hurricane. Of course, Kazami's combat skills are no joke either, as they give Destron's underlings and creations a run for their money. However, Hongo's death is more mysterious than definite, and the story very much follows this mystery. Meanwhile, Kamen Rider V3 eventually comes across other Kamen Riders as they form an alliance in the face of a common evil. Due to the previous show's popularity, Kamen Rider V3 becomes responsible for introducing suit upgrades for the new superhero, making the second installment flashier and cooler. Ultraman Mebius, 2006. The 2006 to 2007 run Tokusatsu of Ultraman Mebius is the 20th installment in the Ultraman franchise. The storyline puts giant superheroes against monstrous threats and finds its revelry in the grand battles that follow. Mirai Hibino enjoys the spotlight as the protagonist of the show, being a young rookie member of the Space Garrison. This garrison is an organization dedicated to the protection of Earth in the face of extraterrestrial threats. However, Earth is soon attacked by the powerful alien race of the Zorab, which leads to Mirai being chosen to become Ultraman Mebius. As the new superhero, Mirai becomes a gigantic warrior who must fight Zorab and defend humanity. He comes across a variety of aliens and monsters during the process and gains support from the Guardian Universal Secret of the Guys, which is an organization that hosts the Ultramen of the past. The show introduces urban landscapes, exciting new locations, and epic battles. Involving the older heroes from the past also adds the necessary layer of nostalgia to the story, which draws in older and newer viewers alike. VR Troopers, 1994. Another American live action to make it to the list, VR Troopers experienced its run from 1994 to 1996 as part of Saban's Metal Hero adaptation series. Due to this, it finds a position with the likes of the Masked Rider and the Power Rangers. The story follows the lives of three teenagers, namely Ryan Steele, Caitlin Starr, and J.B. Reese. They go on to get picked by a computer-generated mentor known as Professor Horatio Hart and become VR Troopers. As superheroes, the teenage trio is now given the responsibility of defending the world from Grimlord and his evil forces. This Grimlord is a malevolent virtual entity who is determined in his conquest of the physical and the digital world. As such, he creates an army with his virtual monsters and mutants to kickstart his conquest. However, the VR Troopers retaliate by using the Virtualizer, which is a virtual reality simulation. Using this simulation, they enter the virtual reality and transform into the VR Troopers. With each warrior having their unique abilities and weapons, the VR Troopers revel in their versatile skill set as a trio. The show combines traditional themes of heroism with futuristic elements such as the power of technology. Although it went on to receive mixed responses from the audience, VR Troopers enjoys a cult classic status at present. Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, 2008. The 2008 American television live-action series known as Kamen Rider Dragon Knight follows its 2002 Japanese counterpart known as Kamen Rider Ryuki. Protagonist Kit Taylor stumbles across a deck of advent cards that help him transform into an armored warrior. Now known as the Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, Kit soon finds out that he's part of a multiverse, and in this multiverse, parallel universes exist simultaneously, with each universe being home to a Kamen Rider that seems to be fighting for their individual purposes. Eventually, Kamen Rider Dragon Knight joins hands with others of his kind as the Kamen Riders come together to fight off the evil forces of Ventara and Mirror Worlds. The Kamen Riders fight the several Kaijins, with each hero possessing powers unique to them, thanks to their different advent cards. Both the real world and the mirror world soon become home to epic fights, while the story enjoys its thematic elements of heroism, friendship, personal struggles, and responsibilities. The show also used special effects and action sequences that were more suited to cater to the tastiest of a Western audience. It went on to attain great reception for being able to do so, while staying true to the original Japanese series and its core concept. Number 27. Madan Senki Ryukendo, 2006. This Japanese tokusatsu series aired from 2006 to 2007 and combined the elements of science fiction with action and fantasy. It follows the adventures of a police officer named Kenji Narukami, who eventually gets chosen to wield the powers of the Madan Key. This allows him to transform into an armored hero known as Ryukendo. He goes on to find his allies, and together they fight against Professor Akashic's interdimensional group of demons known as the Jamanga. The mystical artifact of the Madan Key bestows Ryukendo with several weapons and special abilities, allowing him to stand tall against the minus energy beasts. He's joined in his efforts by blue and yellow counterparts, namely Fudo Ryukishi and Shiro Go. With them having similar abilities, the trio form the Madan Senkai team and protect their city from the destructive plans of the beasts. The show gains attention for its usage of CGI and dynamic visual storytelling, while staying true to the core themes of tokusatsu themes that revolve around engaging action sequences and the personal struggles of the characters. Dengeki Sentai Changeman, 1985. The Super Sentai franchise got its 9th installment with Dengeki Sentai Changeman, which aired from 1985 to 1986. The story follows a 5-member squad chosen to become the Changemen by the Earth Defense Force. Each warrior is represented by mythological creatures such as the dragon, griffin, Pegasus, mermaid, and the phoenix. They must now transform into their superhero forms to battle the evil alien forces of the Great Star League Gosma, whose tyrannical Emperor Gosma wished to conquer Earth and use its resources for personal gains. Equipped with advanced technology, the Changemen battle the foot soldiers sent by Gosma, and when it comes to giant monsters, they follow the standard protocol of combining their mecha vehicles to form the gigantic Change Robo. Ultraman Diner, 1997. The 1997 to 1998 aired tokusatsu fills the spot for being the 13th installment from the Ultraman franchise. Protagonist Shin Asuki starts off as a rookie in the Super Guts, or the Super Global Unlimited Task Squad, but when the Mars base of TPC gets attacked by the spheres, the mysterious Ultraman Diner comes to save the day. He chooses Shin to become its human host, as the two bond with one another to amplify Shin's stats with superpowers. Shin goes on to face threats from several monsters and creatures, most notably the hive-minded life forms known as the Spheres. These antagonistic aliens pose a threat to planets with life as they attack such places to assimilate into them. Samurai Sentai Shikenja, 2009. Samurai Sentai Shikenja, which aired from 2009 to 2010, is the 33rd installment from the Super Sentai franchise. In the world created by the show, samurai warriors exist in modern-day Japan. 5 such samurai warriors get picked to protect Earth when the planet's peace is threatened by the evil Gadushu clan. Each warrior represents a color as they become the Shinkenja, thanks to the superhero transformation attained with the help of their mystical Shodo phone. They also find allies in the mysterious warrior known as Kaoru Shiba and their loyal retainer, Ikoma Kusakabe. The Shinkenjas can also access several techniques and weapons and summon origami mecha to form the mighty samurai robot known as the Shinkeno. Because traditional Japanese lore has been intertwined with the premise of the show, the Shinkenjas staunchly follow the samurai code of honor, or the Bushido code, as they place great importance on virtues such as loyalty and seeing their responsibilities to the end. Ultra Q, 1966. One of the earliest tokusatsus ever, the 1966 Ultra Q acts as the precursor that began it all before the Ultraman series took off. As a result, it's considered to be highly impactful in influencing the tokusatsu genre. The story follows a group of investigators who come across odd, supernatural phenomena that occur around them. Across every episode in the anthology-style tokusatsu, the cast encounters bizarre and mythical creatures such as aliens, supernatural entities, and giant monsters. Being investigators, they try to uncover the truths behind their experiences and try to resolve the mysteries. Unlike most of the other entries in the list, Ultra Q is less about action-oriented storylines, grand fights, and large mechas, and is more focused on exploring the unknown. In a way, it's more adventurous and suspense-focused than its successors. Space Sheriff Charivan, 1983. The 1983 Space Sheriff Charivan is the second installment from the Space Sheriff trilogy. It follows the events of the successful Space Sheriff Gavan and introduces us to the young Den Iga. A member of the Galactic Union Police, Iga is chosen to become the Space Sheriff Charivan as the Earth gets threatened by the villainous Madu and the forces of the evil Demon Empire. Iga has to stand tall against these threats and the Empire's minions with aid from his high-tech weapons and suit. He also acquires cool amps, such as special attacks, the ability to transform into different forms, and possesses a range of combat styles. In the story, Space Sheriff Charivan protects humanity with help from other supporting characters and his fellow Galactic Union police officer known as Lily. However, their tasks go above and beyond just fighting, as they also investigate the schemes of the Demon Empire and bring light to the mysterious bubbling under the surface. Kaiketsu Zubat, 1977. Created by renowned mangaka Shotaro Ishinomori, the Magnificent Zubat, or the Kaiketsu Zubat, aired from 1977 to 1978. The story follows the adventures of a former police officer and skilled martial artist called Ken Hayakawa. Despite his past as a man who protects the law, Hayakawa leaves the police force after his friend gets murdered by a secret criminal organization known as the Daka. Now operating outside the law, Hayakawa becomes a vigilante and adopts the moniker of Zubat as he hopes to seek justice for his late friend. Zubat sports a black costume with a Zubat symbol on his chest that steals the spotlight. While he seeks to take down the Daka, he also finds himself being targeted by Commander Death Zero from the organization, as the antagonist happens to have a personal vendetta against Zubat as well. To come on top in this intense cat-and-mouse chase, Zubat travels from town to town and uses his intelligence and martial arts to not just protect innocent people, but to also unearth the mysteries of Daka's evil schemes. However, his adversaries have their own unique motivations and stories, and Zubat must navigate through it all while charging towards his own goal at the same time. Ultraman Nexus, 2004. The name gives away Ultraman Nexus' state as one of the several shows within the Ultraman franchise, as it enjoys the position of being the 18th installment. The series revels in its darker themes and mature tones, unlike the other Ultraman series, although each show operates on a similar premise of extraterrestrial evils threatening peace on Earth. These threats are handled by a secret society known as the Night Raiders, who harness the superpowers of Ultraman Nexus as the latter manifests through its chosen human host. The shoes for being the host are filled by protagonist Kazuki Komon. Being Ultraman Nexus, Kazuki fights the space beasts and transforms into his 3 different forms, namely Anfans, Junis, and Junis Blue. Access to the forms also helps him wield the different abilities and combat styles possessed by each of his forms. However, Kazuki's Nexus is different compared to the other protagonists due to Nexus being more complex. He is burdened by the responsibility that comes with his powers, and it continues to take heavy psychological tolls on him. He doesn't enjoy being a superhero and struggles with an imbalance between his personal life, which he wishes to focus on, and the responsibilities entrusted to him due to his immense powers. The series sports an introspective take as it dives into Ultraman's psyche. Its character-driven storyline, focusing on the themes of the consequences of power, sacrifice, and identity, also helps Ultraman Nexus receive substantial critical acclaim. Chushinsei Flashman, 1986. Chushinsei Flashman is the 10th installment from the Super Sentai franchise. It follows a 5-people team who get kidnapped by an alien race known as the Reconstructive Experiment Empire Mess. They are then taken to Planet Flash instead of Earth and are raised to be superhuman warriors called the Flashmen. After years, Earth faces threats posed to them by the Reconstructive Experiment Empire Mess and its invading forces. The wish to conquer the planet to exploit it for its resources, which calls for intervention from the Flashmen, as they must now return to Earth as its defenders. Naturally, they possess different abilities, weapons, and the power to combine their vehicles to form the colossal mecha known as the Flash King. They can also transform into various modes that allow them to become a flying fortress or a humanoid robot with firepower. However, Chushinsei Flashman sets itself apart from its peers due to its storyline that revolves around the Flashmen rediscovering their earthly origins after having been kept away from their homes by their enemies. QQ Sentai Go-Go 5, 1999. The QQ Sentai Go-Go 5, which aired from 1999 to 2000, is the 23rd installment in the Super Sentai franchise. The story follows the adventures of the heroic Tatsumi siblings who form the Go-Go 5 team. The events kickstart with the awakening of an underground empire called the Saima family, which dedicates itself to destroying the world by throwing it into chaos. As a result, the Tatsumi siblings are left with no choice but to become the Earth's new defenders. They form a 5-man team with each member representing a different color while possessing unique abilities and skills. The Go-Go 5 use their specialized weapons and vehicles or victory machines to form the giant mecha known as the Grant Liner. However, they face great difficulties imposed not just by their enemies but by their dual lives that they must now juggle. The show lays great emphasis on themes revolving around family bonds as the warriors happen to be siblings bound by blood. Naturally, its themes and execution help QQ Sentai Go-Go 5 become a fan favorite in the world of Japanese tokusatsu. The Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog, 1988. The American-Irish fantasy series known as The Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog is a collaboration production of Gaumont Television and Saban Entertainment. As the name suggests, the show is inspired by Irish myths and folk tales. The premise of the show takes us to the mystical land known as Tir na Nog. The place exists in a world parallel to our own and follows the journeys of young heroes who were picked to become the Mystic Knights. The story began with the desires of Queen Maeve of Temra, who hailed from a faraway mystical island. She wished to rule over the peaceful kingdom of Kells as it was her land of birth. To attain this desire, she summoned a dark fairy named Maida and got her hands on a mystical rune which allowed her to perform sorcery and summon dangerous creatures such as giants and ogres. The queen began to send these mystical creatures to the land of Kells, compelling King Conchobar to come to his kingdom's defense. Eventually, an apprentice of Kells named Rohan discovered an ancient scroll that sang the tales of a legendary warrior known as Draganta. With Rohan possessing a prominent sign on the scroll as his birthmark, he got chosen to find Draganta alongside his friend Angus. In their journey, their fates intertwine with that of the king's daughter, that is Princess Deirdre, and the foreign prince Ivar. They get drawn to the realm of Tir na Nog, which is ruled by a fairy king known as Finn Varar. The fairy puts the newly formed group through various tests and determines their worthiness. When they eventually pass, they're given a section of the scroll alongside mystical weapons, which allow them to gain control over the 4 classical elements of fire, earth, air, and water. Naturally, the young warriors must now battle the Sentinels of Temra, who guarded elemental armor. In the process, they must emerge victorious and become the Mystic Knights. They need the armor of invincibility to stand tall against the evil forces of Queen Maeve, as it amps them up with stronger abilities while protecting them. They also find a guide and a wise druid called Cathbad. Throughout the show, the cast grows and develops not just as warriors, but as young heroes who are entrusted with heavy responsibility. Go-Go Sentai Bukenger, 2006. Go-Go Sentai Bukenger is the 30th installment in the Super Sentai franchise and revolves around adventurers and treasure hunters known as Bukengers. The cast is tasked with searching for powerful artifacts known as precious. These artifacts seemingly possess incredible abilities that can make its possessor immensely powerful. As the cast become the superheroes, they represent a color, each while wielding specific abilities and skills. However, attaining the precious turns out to be no easy feat, as the Bukengers must hop over hurdles such as dangerous enemies, dangerous traps, mythical creatures, rival treasure hunting groups, and secret organizations. The show prides itself on its adventurous elements that revolve around unearthing treasure. These artifacts are also bigger driving forces in the series compared to individual enemies. However, the Bukengers are no strangers to dabbling with the stereotypical tokusatsu elements, such as combining their vehicles to form a mecha either. As it stands, their quest for the precious puts them in the line of fire as they find adversaries who try to get their hands on the powers wielded by the Bukengers. Akumaisa 3, 1975. Shotaro Ishinomori hits the mark with another tokusatsu show known as the Akumaisa 3, with Akuma being the Japanese word for demon. The story focuses on 3 demons known as Zavitan, Devilman, and Gabura from from the demon world. The trio goes against their evil leader, known as the Great Devil, and comes to Earth, where they encounter a kind human named Takeru. Influenced by his nature, the demons decide to use their powers in protecting humanity from the influence of their ex-boss, or the Great Devil. Zavitan has the ability to transform into Akumizer X. Devilman can turn into Akumizer Devil, while Gabura becomes the Akumizer for his own name. Together, they make the Akumizer 3 team that sheds light on the struggle between good and evil as they fight the Great Devil's minions while protecting innocent people on Earth. The unusual premise of the show, alongside its usage of imaginative monsters and a sense of comedy, make it unique enough to earn a spot in the hearts of the viewers. This is also the reason behind the show having a cult following, despite being short-lived. Ultra 7X, 2007. The 2007 tokusatsu known as Ultra 7X focuses on the character of Ultra 7 from the Ultra series franchise. The show follows the life of a skilled fighter pilot named Jin, who comes across the alien artifact of the X-Divisor. It grants Jin with the power to turn into Ultra 7X, which is essentially a more powerful and technologically advanced version of the Ultra 7. It enjoys a reputation for being thematically darker. It also sets itself apart as an anthology series that follows an episodic format, with each episode exploring different supernatural and paranormal phenomena that force Ultra 7X to fight in order to protect humanity. Meanwhile, his foes come from various walks of supernatural life as Ultraman has to combat the likes of mysterious entities, rogue aliens, and powerful monsters. Throughout his encounters, the protagonist is dealt with issues pertaining to his identity as well as the nature of humanity, which are some of the elements that make the show more mature. It also retains its contemporary flavor by using a modern visual presentation, atmospheric cinematography, and gritty storytelling style as it finds its target in an older audience. Jidenshi Bioman, 1984. The 1984 to 1985 aired tokusatsu known as Jidenshi Bioman is the 8th installment from the Super Sentai franchise. As usual, Earth faces threats due to an evil for which 5 individuals are appointed to be superheroes. Several centuries ago, the Bio-Robo and the android Peebo had come to Earth with the fallen Bio-Star. The Bio-Robo had subsequently showered 5 individuals with bioparticles, which were genetically passed onto the later generations. With Dr. Man and the Neo-Empire gear threatening Earth in the present day, Peebo sets out to find the descendants of the bioparticle-showered individuals as he hopes to form the Jidenshi Bioman, or the Super Electronic Squadron. Needless to say, Peebo succeeds in his quest and forms the quintet team of the Biomen. Each individual is made to possess powers and skills unique to them, while they wield bio-based weaponry instead of the more tokusatsu traditional purely technological ones. In their mission to protect Earth, the Bioman team has to fight the bio-monsters created by the Neo-Empire gear and its genetic manipulation. They're also capable of combining their vehicles or the bio-jets to form the mighty Bio-Robo. Dai Sentai Goggle V, 1982. Dai Sentai Goggle V, which aired from 1982 to 1983, enjoys its spot as the 6th installment from the Super Sentai franchise. It follows the journeys of 5 members of a research organization known as the Goggle Foundation. The foundation was dedicated to the study of ancient civilizations. So, when the evil empire of the Death Dark emerged from the underground to the surface, the Goggle Foundation was best suited to combat the threat. Death Dark wanted to conquer the world, which resulted in Goggle Foundation activating its Goggle V team, with each member having special skills, weapons, and abilities. As you may already guess, they can combine their mechs and form a colossal Goggle Robo. Throughout the show, the newly formed warrior unit faces Death Dark and his minions of powerful monsters and mechanical warriors across several battles. In the meantime, they also unearth ancient artifacts from older civilizations, which help them get stronger. Jumborg Ace, 1973. Subaraya Productions, which is the production house behind the acclaimed Ultraman series, found success with another tokusatsu known as the Jumborg Ace. The story follows a scientist named Naoki Tachibana, who discovers a hidden civilization, or the underground empire, beneath the Earth. This discovery becomes ominous, as we learn that the empire, which is led by the antagonistic Professor Demon, hopes to conquer the surface world and turn humans into their slaves. In the face of such a threat, Naoki Tachibana creates a powerful robot called Jumborg Ace to play the hero. Jumborg Ace has been amped with several features that allow it to have incredible strength while possessing several weapons and the ability to enlarge its size. The robot uses these powers to fight off the monsters or kaiju creatures sent by the underground empire and reigns on their domination plans. Alongside its interesting premise, the show revels in its classic tokusatsu monster clashes. Battlehawk, 1976. We end this list with Go Nagai and Ken Ishikawa's Battlehawk, which aired from 1976 to 1977. The story introduces us to the global terrorist syndicate known as the Kyoki Noto, or the Commandments of the Demon in English. This evil organization hopes to terrorize the globe, starting with the assassination of a martial arts master known as Tate Tetsushu, who had previously opposed the organization. However, Tetsushu passes down the knowledge of secret powers to his grandchildren, Shogo, Eureka, and Dajiro before his death. Having acquired golden tomahawks from their grandfather several years ago, the siblings unravel it once again and summon the American Indian spirit, Godhawk. Using its powers, they become heroes from legends known as the Battlehawk, Queenhawk, and the Big Hawk, while gaining access to interesting weaponry that allows them to fight the killers from the commandments of the demon. Marvelous verdict. Although Tokusatsu refers to the live-action format, its trademark combination of action, adventure, science fiction, war, fantasy, and horror has led to the term becoming its own genre. In Japanese, the word Tokusatsu refers to special, which is another reason why Tokusatsu enjoys its name as one of the pioneers of practical special effects in Japanese television. With that, today's video comes to an end. What did you think of these shows? Did you enjoy this video? If yes, then don't forget to like and comment on the video. Till then, goodbye and have a nice one.